Congressman Hall, more than responding to that direct question, I can't help but notice not just yourself, but other incumbent Democrats haven't exactly been screaming from the rooftops this election season the virtues and how great the health care legislation has been. There's been other issues. But is this a great generational achievement? Should your constituents say that this is your proudest achievement in the last 2 years?
I think when they know what is in it, unfortunately there's been a lot of misinformation about what is actually in this bill, that many more Americans are already, according to the Rasmussen poll, deciding that they like it. Now, to go back to the idea of health savings accounts.
Well, with all due respect, the recent polls, though, show that while there was at one point a slight uptick, the more people elected. Right now, there are more people opposed than in favor of the health care legislation.
Richard, excuse me, but does my time get shortened?
No, you still have it too.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm just asking because we can have health savings account today. Everybody in this room, Dr. Hayworth, me, you, anybody can choose to invest in a health savings account today. We don't need a law to do that. You need discretionary cash to do that. And the problem is that people won't do it. I have a 31-year-old cousin who was just diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. He's too young to even get a colonoscopy and have an insurance company pay for it. And he and his family are facing possible bankruptcy because of it. And the health care system that my opponent would like to see us go back to by repealing this bill was the #1 cause of personal bankruptcies in this country. I've met a 5-year-old in Orange County with spina bifida. By the age of 5, he had 3 operations, used up his father's lifetime cap for his coverage under his father's insurance. I played a couple of songs at a benefit for a girl in Somers, 19-year-old, with late-stage colon cancer. Her family also facing bankruptcy because of it. What are we going to tell these people? Back on your own, back on the street, deal with it? I don't think this is the kind of United States that we should have. And I would like to see the bill amended in several ways, but I think repealing it would be a mistake. And for those 26 years old who can stay on their parents' policies until their 27th birthday, for those with a pre-existing condition, for those who are dealing with having their insurance dropped when they get sick, like my brother who had a stroke 15 years ago, and his insurance company, which, by the way, he worked as an actuary for the insurance industry most of his life and paid and paid and paid, and when he got sick, they dropped him. Those things are all banned under this new bill. And I think those are positive effects that the public should know about and should approve of.
Okay, I'd like to segue into the high costs of living and doing business in the Hudson Valley. The Hudson Valley is home to 3 of the highest taxed counties in the nation, Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam. Westchester County comes in at #1, the highest taxed county in the nation. We've lost close to 140,000 jobs in the last 15 years. They've disappeared from New York City north along the Hudson River to Sullivan County. These businesses have either moved to other parts of New York or other parts of the country. This is just more bad news for a very troubled Hudson Valley. Mrs. Hayworth, on your website you say oppressive, I'm quoting, enterprise-killing taxation is an especially acute problem in New York. And you cite the state as having the 2nd worst business tax climate in the nation.
I think now it's the worst, actually.
Okay, so I will ask you, if you are elected, what will you do to reduce the burden on businesses, on taxpayers in your district? What specific tax increases would you oppose, and what cuts would you support?
Absolutely, thank you. The first thought that comes to mind is related to the new health law. It has already imposed a tremendous enterprise-crushing premium on our small businesses and employers in the Hudson Valley. They have told me so. They are looking at rises in their insurance premiums that are going to make it very difficult for them to consider increasing hiring or indeed growing their businesses here. Add to that the uncertainty regarding the extension of the 2001 and 2003 tax cuts. As you probably know, the Congress could have stayed in session. There was one vote, Congressman Hall, one vote, that prevented them from remaining in session and possibly providing the tax relief that our businesses, federal tax relief that our businesses and small employers desperately need to have. They need to know that we are going to extend those tax cuts across the board so that we can provide them with the assurance that they need that their capital will remain here in the Hudson Valley so that they can grow their businesses as they desperately want to do. Another fact about the new health law has to do with New York taxes, property taxes in particular. When the new health law was passed, $1 billion worth of new Medicaid obligation was conferred onto New York State. That comes out of all of us in terms of our property taxes. That is another tax on the state of New York conferred by the federal government, an unfunded mandate that we cannot afford.
Thank you. Congressman, of course, I will give you an opportunity to respond to that. I would also like to ask you, though, sir, if you are reelected, what you would do specifically to help lower the tax burden on businesses, small businesses, taxpayers here in your district.
Sure. Well, we just passed the Small Business Jobs Act, which provides not only depreciation tax help, increases the startup tax write-off for small businesses, but a $30 billion pool of unspent TARP money that is lent through community banks, not through the big guys, not through the Bank of America or Citicorp or for Wells Fargo or the folks that got bailed out and sat on the money and didn't lend it, but through our local bankers who we know at 1 point over prime, and if they don't lend it, they have to pay it back at 7 points over prime. So there's a penalty this time for sitting on the money and not lending it to small businesses. We passed the Recovery Act, which included $286 billion of tax relief for working families. 95% of working families got a tax break from that. The Small Business Jobs Act, the first-time homebuyers tax credit, cash for clunkers was a tax credit. The child tax credit was extended. In fact, USA Today, which is not a lefty rag by most people's opinion, in May of this year has a headline that says tax bills, federal tax bills in 2009 and this year are their lowest level since 1950, since the Eisenhower years. Now, I know as a taxpayer myself and as a former school board trustee and president that school taxes are killing people, the AMT is killing people and needs to be changed, the MTA mobility tax, which is not something Congress votes on, I'm completely against, and I think it's unfair for the upstate counties to be paying the way they are, and I'm happy to work on and have been working on trying to solve those problems.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could remind the audience, if we can keep the applause and anything else till the very end, we'll get to more questions that way. Thank you. All right, let's get to the fun subject of politics, and it's been an eventful summer and fall so far. I'll start with you, Congressman. I saw recently that the Vice President came to your district and had a fundraiser for you. I'd like you to affix a letter grade to President Obama's job performance so far, and I'd like to know if you were reelected, would you move to give Speaker Pelosi another term as Speaker of the House?
I would. I would vote for Speaker Pelosi again, and I would say, as far as President Obama goes, I would give him a B. But he inherited a very difficult situation.
I'd like to ask the audience again, if we could, to let the candidates.
I think that between Election Day and the day he was sworn in, that the economy took such a dive that even he was surprised at the size of the hole he had to dig out of. You can't walk into the woods for 8 years and get out of it in 2 years by turning around and walking the other direction. And regarding Speaker Pelosi, she has done some things well, as has the President, and some things maybe not so well. But she is the first woman ever to be elected Speaker. It's the highest elected office in this country. And I think that if she were Chip O'Neill or Sam Rayburn, people would be saying, boy, he knows how to knock heads and get get the deal done and get a job done, get a bill passed. But instead, being a woman, that she's being called some other things. However, there is much work yet to be done, and they are both certainly aware of it, and I am. I am not happy with the situation we have in our economy and in terms of unemployment, and as far as I'm concerned, the frustration and anger or the need for us to rebuild our economy is one that I feel as strongly as anybody in this room or in Congress.
Thank you, Congressman.